To know who we are, and where we're going, we must know how we arrived here. Welcome to Rephetic, a revolutionary study of the Great Pyramid, which promises to rewrite civilization's history. Welcome back, Joe.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, folks.
Howdy.
Part 4, general crisis elements in our Kuhnian analysis of the facts of both Giza and the Great Pyramid, and our consideration of the Orthodox claims regarding that evidence. So this is what this looks like. We're going to get out of here real quick, and then we're going to wrap up this whole Orthodox discussion. And then,
It's been a fun ride.
yeah, we're going to see about the next sets of videos.
Yeah. I can't wait. I'm all in, dude.
Joe keeps asking about my theory, my hypotheses, whatever.
right?
So, yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. So, even short of the book being ready, we're going to talk about it.
And tell them why this must be done first.
Well,
Why do you have to go through all of this prior to just coming out with, hey,
here's
what
a new
about
theory?
this? Yeah.
Well, we've answered all that.
Tell them.
No, I'm saying that would be the answer.
Right.
So,
Yeah, too many questions.
I mean, you know, again, if Thomas Kuhn's work means anything, it means here's the exact cycle of the structure of scientific revolutions. Here's crisis. Here's when you know you're in crisis, right?
Yeah.
Some of those crisis qualifying conditions, and I do this in the book too. There's like 15 or so qualifying conditions for each one of these crisis elements. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, you know, this hasn't been done or this hasn't been done. But one of the major things is the number of competing hypotheses. Okay, like we talked about construction ramps.
Right.
How many different? There's 800. Okay, maybe there's only 8.
Right.
But the fact that there's 8 is suggestive of crisis.
Right.
You know, if you couldn't nail it down to the probability, the likelihood of 2,
Right.
then we probably have a crisis.
Right.
Anyhow,
So today,
what
do we do today?
we're
What are we dialing into today?
yeah. So okay, we talked about Petrie. We talked about a lot of this stuff. Okay, crisis elements. These are in the general sections. They're both major and or minor general crisis elements. Okay.
General crisis elements. All right, let's
the
go.
Petrie samples, which I have a copy of them.
Oh,
right
I
here.
got to see those.
The Petrie samples, particularly core number 7, and again, there's so much debate about core number 7. So these are samples that Petrie collected from the Giza Plateau. Core number 7 and several other of these show distinct tool path around the circumference.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
He himself determines that was made by jeweled tipped cutting tool with significant pressure. Okay. These are his words, and you can read his words as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Hence all the lines, right?
Yes. Now, why these are crisis elements is Denny Stocks is a guy who demonstrates all the 4th dynasty tooling. So, copper tube drills and copper saws with quartzite and granite abrasion. Okay? He demonstrates all the Old Kingdom methods. They produce results, they produce evidence that do not have these characteristics. The characteristics of Denny Stocks' work, if you're doing a circular copper tube drill with sand abrasion, you basically have smooth sides. Okay? You don't have a continuous tool path with a feed rate.
Right. Okay.
We can't get around core number 7. Okay? Cannot.
Can't happen.
Core number 7, it appears, cannot be produced by the Old Kingdom methods. It requires sophisticated machining. Either some of this stuff is lathe, where the piece turns, and some of it might be milling, where the tool turns. Okay? There's a difference between lathe work and mill work. Okay? So these are particularly major crisis elements because, again, they imply sophistication in order to create them.
Right.
Okay? So in this general discussion, We'll just jump to another one here real quick. The Abu Sir basins. Okay? The Abu Sir basins, and you can look these up too.
Okay, what am I looking at here?
You're looking at stone basins that are roughly 6 foot square. You could here's the fella. You could lay down inside that bowl.
Wow.
Okay? There's rows of these, 2 rows. Some of them have these ratchets around the rim. Some are smooth around the rim. Okay?
Okay.
Some of them have one, like a porthole through near the top circumference. Some of them have 3 portholes, but it's through one side. Okay.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
These are concluded to be sacrificial basins. They were discovered at Abu Sir in and around some animal bones. Okay.
Okay.
Sacrificial basins.
And where were those placed?
They were just in the sand at Abu Sir.
Okay.
2 types. Okay. So now when you look at the meticulous crafting of these basins, would you suggest that has some mechanical use?
100%.
I mean,
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say no question.
I guess I'm leading you even by asking if you would interpret them as perhaps being mechanical. Anyway, I offer an interpretation of their use in my work. Okay, but right now they're interpreted and concluded to be sacrificial basins. Okay.
Yeah.
And with no distinction, the ones with the rim ratchets, the ones without the rim ratchets, and then the portholes, okay, are said to be perhaps for blood spillage out of the sacrificial basins, okay? So again, no distinctions between the ones with 1 porthole, the ones with 3 portholes. No distinction between the ratchets and the no ratchets, okay?
Right. Yeah.
So we're going to get to that later.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
In total, early dynastic iconography, the Ankh, the jet pillar, the knot of Isis, these various depictions, and they're not on there. So various depictions, early Egyptian iconography, there's some of them that seem to imply a tool function, okay?
Right.
No tool functions are offered for any of the early iconography. Okay.
Right.
And we'll put these in the minor crisis elements. Abu Sir basins, minor crisis element.
Okay.
No tool function or interpretation of any of Egyptian iconography, minor crisis element.
Okay.
Okay. In that same discussion, there's a couple other things. Remember we mentioned the Saqqara vessels, 40,000 little stone vessels?
Yeah.
There's various sizes. No materials testing on those either, okay? And very little or no suggestion of what their function may have been. The next one, which I didn't print it out, but it's the Schist Disc. It's a lobed disc said to be like a lotus flower vase of some kind, okay?
Okay.
Looks exactly like a machine. Mechanical interpretation, okay?
Okay.
Is there any mechanical testing on the Schist Disc? No.
No. 0.
There's some independent researchers that try to do something with it, but no materials, break off a corner, man. Let's test it, see what this material is, right? Or I have some suggestions as to its function, okay?
Right.
I have suggestions for some of the iconography tool functions, interpretations. I have an interpretation of the Abu Sir basins. I have an interpretation of the Schist Disc. Jesus, say that 10 times. Go ahead. Schist Disc.
Disc.
Say it 10 times.
I won't do it.
Sorry,
You're recording me.
Sorry, Joe. Yeah, this is on camera.
Yeah, this is on camera,
Can't
for
be
God's
doing that.
sakes.
Anyway, how are we doing on time? Okay.
We're 5:15. We're all right.
Next,
Next.
the Sphinx water erosion. Okay? You've seen much about this, right?
Yeah.
It's first suggested by Schwaller de Lubitz, picked up by John Anthony West. John Anthony West partners with Robert Schock. they go and they do the geological work, investigation, testing, etc., on what appears to be the water erosion of particularly the Sphinx temple and the southern wall, but also the western wall. Okay, not so much the Sphinx itself, but did I say temple? Sorry, Sphinx enclosure.
Okay,
Sphinx enclosure. Okay, so a lot has been made of that since when? 1994, 30 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, better not talk about it.
No, it just implies that the Sphinx predates the Fourth Dynasty. Okay? So what has happened recently on this Sphinx erosion is we're trying to force some major water events within the dry, arid period.
Right.
Okay? And suggest that those caused the erosion. Let's do away with the natural temporal wet period because it's before 7000 BCE. Let's try to figure out how this happened during the arid desert period. Okay, continue with that as much as you want.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, we'll table that. What did you say on the first video? Check mark, not check mark. You were like bookmark it or something.
Oh, pin that.
Pin it.
Yeah, pin that for further research.
Yeah,
but,
I love that. You're like, hey, why don't you just pin that? I'm gonna pin that.
But it's getting
now,
a bit hilarious.
So, but now we're talking about the wind a little bit.
No. Wind erosion is sideways erosion. These are vertical fissures.
No, I'm saying about the water erosion. You're talking about like 7,000 BC.
Oh.
So is that even in question?
What do you mean? Was it wet then?
Well, it was the dry period.
No, the dry period's from now back to 8,000 BCE and before.
All right.
Okay?
You're leading me down an unknown path.
Well, we're all on an unknown path because the geological research infers, demands even,
Right.
significant rainfall.
So remember when we do Joe's Q&A?
Yeah.
That's coming up.
Okay, well,
pin that.
People can
pin that.
people can chime in on that.
Yeah, pin that.
But meanwhile, there's every geologist and their brother is chiming in on it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for real. Because Schock's initial conclusions disrupt the paradigm. Everything on that plateau, outside of some arcane tombs or cemetery, there's one, is all Fourth Dynasty.
Yeah.
Okay? So any suggestion other than that disrupts the paradigm.
I got a funny story real quick,
Yeah,
and I'll let you continue. So, we talk
'cause
about
we're not
the
on it.
No, we talk about the Orthodox thing. I'll say it real quick. I'll probably get in trouble. Heather is my wife. I love you. She was like, "What's the point? Like, they're the pyramids. They're here. That's blah blah blah." And I'm like, because I was describing it during Easter. Her family's in, and this, that, and the other. And she's like, "Well, why are you doing that?" And I was like, "I'm intrigued." And it's like, they were built thousands of years ago. What does it matter? I'm like, you should watch the podcast.
Make sure she watches.
No, I want to get her to watch. Heather, watch, if you're listening, watch the podcast. I'm probably safe. But that's the thing is like, it kind of, the consensus is, hey, this is it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just go with it. But I'm like, I'm with you. I want to dig in a little bit, right?
Yeah, especially like if this were just some wild goose chase. Oh, the Earth is flat.
Right.
It's like, wait a second.
Right.
The only evidence for the Earth being flat is your lack of sensory inputs.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only evidence, right? Well, I can only see this far.
But I can see why a lot of people, again, just, all right, accept whatever's out there. But again, learning from just episode 1, I don't know a whole lot, right? So public, if you don't know a whole lot,
just have a seat
enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope it comes through Like I'm not. There's no zany nothing coming from me.
No, but that's what's so cool about it.
Here's the facts. Here's what makes sense. Here's what seems to not make sense.
Right.
And so anyway, that's the importance of this Orthodox critique. Really, is we can wrap our heads around a thing, and then let's get to the end because
I'm stalling the process.
No. But these major crisis elements need resolution.
Right.
Okay. So whatever the current hypotheses, or they call it settled science, whatever they want to call it, these crisis elements remain.
Right.
No matter what anybody says.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then fast forward, someone, let's say me, comes with a new hypothesis. Does it answer this? Does it answer these things? Because those are the thresholds of. That's the threshold of what needs to be answered. And unless somebody can answer them, then they remain unresolved.
Right.
Okay. So next, and I might get. So real quick, let's jump to the Inventory Stele. This is give or take 1,500 years removed from Giza.
Inventory what?
Inventory Stele.
Okay. What is that?
Stele. What time you got?
I got 5:22.
Okay, because I need time to wrap this up. The Inventory Stele, okay, was discovered at Giza. It lists a bunch of things about Isis temple, etc. Okay. The Inventory Stele declares that Khufu built this Isis temple in the shadow of the Sphinx. Okay?
Okay.
It's discounted. It's dismissed. That they were somehow wanting to increase maybe the overall reputation of Khufu or whomever. I don't know exactly why they dismiss it, but factually it says that the Sphinx was there before Khufu.
Okay.
Because he built the Isis temple in the shadow of the Sphinx.
Okay.
Orthodoxy has the Sphinx assimilated or attributed to Khafre, the guy that built the middle pyramid.
Okay.
So the Inventory Stele contradicts the paradigm as well.
Okay.
Okay. So
major crisis element.
Yeah, major crisis element. I think the Sphinx is major crisis element. The Petrie samples are major crisis elements. The Inventory Stele belongs in the major crisis element can't column as well. Okay.
What are these called? Well, you just said it. These.
Those are Petrie samples.
Right. So the sample.
Petrie samples.
Petrie samples.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so
got it.
So let's do this one, and then we're gonna wrap things up.
Okay.
Here's what I would urge as we talk about this last one. Okay. People, and maybe I'll put the slides up on the video.
Most certainly.
But just look it up on Wikipedia.
Put the slides up.
The definition of pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you were saying that. Go ahead.
Well, and I only say it as a pushback and perhaps defense, let's say. Like anybody from the alternative community that pushes back on orthodoxy, here's what they get called: pyramidiates. Leading academician, leading authority on this study in their latest book. This is not 1960s, okay? The latest publication, he's still calling people that weigh in on this topic pyramidiates, okay? Look up the definition of pseudoscience. Ask yourself how much progress has been made, okay? Ask yourself about the material sampling and testing that has not been done.
Right.
Okay. Ask yourself why people are making personal claims about this study, like calling critics the pyramidian, right? There's a reason. And also, we consistently hear from some in the Orthodox community that the people the critics bringing observations or critique, okay, are in fact practicing pseudoscience. Okay, and it's almost like the gay preacher guy, right? they're always the one caught, right? They're always the one that are keeping hidden something.
Right.
So for somebody to keep calling stuff pseudoscience, there's some significant lack of confidence in what the foundation of their studies are.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay.
So anyway, look up the definition of pseudoscience. Next, the OCT, the Orion Correlation Theory. Okay? Bauval and Gilbert, whenever it was, 1996, 98, I'm not sure of the date. Okay? Bauval and Gilbert, and they did this with some astronomical software. Take the alignment of G1, G2, G3, and they said, wow, it looks a lot like Orion's belt stars, very similar to your wallet.
Right.
Show the people your wallet again.
Yeah, one more time.
Okay, so we have the OCT from Bauval and Gilbert, then we have a pushback, or what is deemed a refutation, which is really just counter-argument, from Krupp at the Griffith Observatory. Okay? So Bauval and Gilbert don't even register this time as even a supposed time of the build. Okay? They just make the observation that the alignment of G1, G2, and G3 matches Orion's belt stars at a particular astronomical time, which is 10,500 BC, or precessional cycles before that of 25,920 years. Okay? So it aligns, so Orion's belt star waxes as we go through this precessional cycle. Okay? The pyramids line up only at specific times. 10,500 BC, 36,000 BC, right? Regressions of 25,920 years. That's when the pyramids line up with Orion's belt star. You with that? Have you seen some of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard it mentioned, yeah.
Okay, so Krupp's refutation is that the little pyramid at Giza is pointing south. The little star in Orion's belt star is pointing north, give or take. They're directionally inverted. Okay? Therefore, the alignment means nothing. Okay?
Dismissed. Right?
Dismissed. Okay, so there's one last thing which I can do here. How's our time doing?
We are at 28. 5:28.
Oh, okay. I could really do this in these last few minutes.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, so I'm going to do this, and we're going to wrap up this section. Bauval and Gilbert and Krupp's refutation, okay? I'm gonna do a little bit. This is a teaser on form and function.
Yeah, I like
okay?
teasers.
This is a teaser on form and function.
Teaser, form, and function. All right.
I do this in the book in chapter 10. Okay.
Now we're getting
right
somewhere.
before the end.
Okay.
We talk about the what and the why.
Okay.
Okay. So, first of all, what's a pyramid? Right? Good luck figuring that out.
Right.
Lepsius says it's a tomb. Okay.
Final answer.
Bauval and Gilbert and Krupp's refutation, the issue seems to be the perspective of the audience. Okay. So the question is not, are they directionally inverted? The question is, at what time of the day and season and what vantage point would they both align together? Okay, that's the question. So we look at Orion's belt star in the night sky at its zenith, okay? At night, there it is. There's Orion's belt star. Here's the pyramids. Whoop, whoop, okay?
Right.
Now, here's Orion's belt star in our background during winter months, okay?
Right.
Spin the Earth during the day when the sunlight is reflecting off of the Great Pyramids in their white polished limestone, okay? Orion's in the background during the day. Put yourself on the moon in, let's say, a new moon cycle. Could you tell if there's people on the moon from the naked eye?
No.
No? Okay, let's suppose maybe there is, all right?
Okay.
Another question. If you're stranded at sea or in the wilderness, what's your best communication item? Your best tool to communicate?
To communicate?
Yes, to a search plane or something. What?
What? Freaking.
A mirror.
Ah.
Instant light reflection. Okay?
Okay.
They'll know exactly where you're at.
Okay.
During the day, light's reflecting off of Giza's pyramids into the cosmos. Forget about its effectiveness. Okay?
Right.
But let's just say the moon on new moon, the moon's up during the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I call it a declarative function. If the pyramid builders are going to declare their existence on the planet to any celestial potential audience, they use what they had. Okay, so during the day, Orion is in the background.
Mm-hmm.
If we're viewing, let's say, from the moon, we're going to see Giza in the background of Giza would be in Orion's belt stars, not directionally inverted, both pointing the same way.
Okay.
So you would have the familiarity of the background to a potential audience, okay, declaring your existence on the planet, just for humanity's sake.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is a potential function of the alignment. Also, it can be an exact marker of when the culture that built them was on our planet. Okay. So it can serve two things.
Right. Now
But
we're
anyway-
getting trippy. I like it.
Okay, well, these are interpretations.
I love it.
All right, so that's
I love
one
it.
of them on the Orion correlation theory. I've given you a little nugget, a
I
little
know.
secret near the
See
end.
that I need the nuggets because that's what I'm here for. You sat me on a crash course.
Yeah.
Of
Well, I'm going to give you some because this is our last little
I know,
discussion
I
for
love
now.
it. All right.
Okay, so Krupp's refutation on the directional inversion is negated when you have the right vantage point,
got it.
where they're directionally aligned
Yeah.
during the day with Orion and Earth's background, say from a new moon.
Right.
Okay. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. Other forms and functions. We've got the three pyramids there. We've got the Great Pyramid. Okay. Mm-hmm. What possible functions could there be? And we talk a little bit about geometry. Okay. So if you stumbled into the Great Pyramid, what's your first question? Well, maybe, and you're messing around with base mathematics, let's say. What's its volume? How tall is it? Right?
Right.
You can't know the height until you solve Pythagorean theorem.
Okay.
Okay? It's a could be geometric cipher. It gives you the faces. You can measure those.
Right.
If you understand the relationship between A, B, and C squared, you can deduce the height. Okay?
Right.
You could measure the base, and a lot has been said also about the relation of the height to the base perimeter. It's 2 pi, 6.28318. I'm not going to get into that because I mentioned we don't know the precise
Right.
dimensions.
Right.
It's really speculation. Mm-hmm. But the pyramidal structure is could be a geometric cipher. Invite you to decipher the sophisticated right triangle knowledge to determine its height. Okay?
Okay.
What about a perfectly straight north-south line? True north. 755-foot straight line. What's the potential function of that?
Right.
What is it? I'm asking.
You're
Take a
asking the
guess.
wrong guy.
Well, no. I'm just asking another modern mind. So, you're familiar with magnetic north.
Right.
Magnetic north
It's
is
not true north.
correct. But if we're going to sail the seas, you need to recalibrate where magnetic north is according to a control. Okay?
What could be the control?
The edge of the pyramid.
Yeah, I know.
North south.
I know. That was me.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
that was me chiming in. Right.
Again, just potential functions.
Right.
Okay? So if you have a control, you can track magnetic north, you can reorient your map, you can sail wherever you need to sail. Okay? You can't do it without knowing true north and having a compass to track the drift of magnetic north and thus reorient your map. Okay? So these are a couple of functions to the potential functions to the form. Okay.
Okay.
And then we've got all of the storage capacity. We're putting something on the inside, right?
Now we're going to storage. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you.
I like it. Hey,
what time,
our
what time we
identity
got?
on the planet to storage.
Okay, so getting out of this.
536.
Okay, getting out of this whole discussion about these general crisis elements.
Yeah, bring it home.
What's that?
I said bring it home.
Yeah, let's bring it home.
Bring it home.
Just a small recap. The orthodoxy, the orthodox a priori who and when begins with Herodotus.
Right.
Study after Herodotus that uses that as the basis or bias is prejudiced by that bias. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Without a how, let's say.
Okay.
Okay? So that would be all of Orthodox study. You're starting with the who and when. Okay?
Okay.
Now we're reinterpreting everything according to the who and when. That's all. This is an entirely prejudiced study. Make sense?
Yep.
The interior crisis elements, which we already went through, right? I'm not going to rename them all.
Right.
But there's majors, and then the list of minors. We didn't go over every one of them, but there's minors there too, which basically come down to what are the potential functions for the forms, and what are the potential causes which produce the effects or the condition.
Right.
Okay? That's it. Same thing for the outside. We just talked a little bit about suggested function.
Right.
Okay, but here's what the form is. In the outside, in the whole build, it's sufficient and thorough and testable means and tools.
Right.
Which could produce the evidence, okay?
Right.
That's what we're looking for on the how. And then obviously we got wrangling over 8-sided versus 4-sided, the lack of materials sampling and research. These are all major crisis elements. Okay, so there's majors and minors. This entire discussion, 1,000 volumes, however many YouTube videos and channels, and all this stuff. Okay, so let's just say since Herodotus, 450 BC, so for 2,400 and
whatever,
2,470 years. Okay, we have a study which is the first Kuhnian crisis. Okay, in an intractable Kuhnian crisis. Here's the list of stuff that need to be answered. Okay, all of it, it exists on one base assumption, one environment. The universe that all of this exists in is that the plateau roughly represents the beginning mass of Giza's bedrock. Okay? So everything we've talked about, every book, everything is working from the plateau base assumption. Okay? That base assumption could be an entire illusion. Back to our base question, has the plateau always been a plateau? Could it have begun by the evidence and reason? Could it have begun as a much greater vertical mass? And then you get to ask the single elusive question, apparently, is how might you build the pyramids from and within this butte mass, and obviously take the butte down to the existing plateau? Right. That's what my work's about. That's what the next series of videos will be about, is we're going to do a geological investigation. We're going to explore the evidence and the reason, and ask this question about the plateau, which apparently nobody out of 100 billion people has asked, right?
Interesting.
I mean, this is the power of visual illusion, okay?
Right.
There's no reason to ask that question of the plateau, right?
Right.
And even for people who have considered this up to now, or any of the academicians that have considered this, okay? I sat across from a guy in Memphis, and I showed him some of what I have, right? And I told him in emails before I met with him, here's what I want to meet with you about. I sat across from him, And I watched as his mind just shut, completely closed. And we ended the visit.
Wow.
When he realized, uh-oh, we might have the wrong base assumption for considering all of Giza's research. He's like, no, I can't do that. Wait, you're really suggesting? Wait a minute, it was in the email.
Right.
I've told you this whole time what I'm proposing, right?
Right.
And he just shut it. Patty was with me. Shut it down.
Wow.
And then I still get refusals for debate. I still get, nobody wants to talk about this Orthodox critique. Nobody wants to defend Orthodox claims. They just, behind the scenes, they want to release their books, which are covering all. There's nothing new to cover since Petrie. Really.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. They discovered a new shaft.
An empty hidden chamber. So,
chamber.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah.
This is where we're going. This is why I beg your patience. And these are long videos. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if I told you that of the major and the minor crisis elements, of the features and the functions, of the causes and the conditions, let's just say there's 100 of them. Mm-hmm. If I told you that my hypotheses resolves 99 of them, that would be something, wouldn't it?
That would be really something.
Okay, stay tuned. Like it, share it, subscribe.
Yes.
Welcome to Rephetic.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks for
it.
having me.
We'll go into the next series just as quick as we can.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
See you soon. Take care.
Take care.
To know who we are, and where we're going, we must know how we arrived here. Welcome to Rephetic, a revolutionary study of the Great Pyramid, which promises to rewrite civilization's history.